Hello, and welcome to our series, Women in E-Mobility, Accelerating Women's Voices. I'm Dr. Shelley Francis, co-founder and managing partner here at EV Noir, and EV Noir's work centers on electric, connected, shared, and autonomous vehicle technology. We focus on two areas of work: e-mobility best practices and e-mobility diversity, equity, and inclusion. So during this series, we'll talk with leaders working across the e-mobility ecosystem. We focus on engaging women leaders. Our conversations center on their career trajectories, how they got started working on electrification, and what it's like working in the sector, as well as emerging issues and trends. So, we're in the middle of a huge shift in how we conceive power and innovate our sectors. It's driven by awareness of climate impacts and economic opportunities. So there's no better time than now to dive in. And today's session is brought to you by the team at EV Noir. We are excited to talk with Camiel Irving. Camiel is at Uber, where she currently serves as Vice President and General Manager of US and Canada Mobility Operations. So Camiel is an alum of both Northwestern University and Xavier University in Louisiana. So Camiel, welcome to Women in E-Mobility.
Thank you so much, Dr. Francis. It is always a pleasure to chat with you, and it is an absolute privilege to participate in this series.
Impressive career path. You worked at a number of heavy hitters, including Procter & Gamble, 3M Healthcare, and of course, now you're at Uber. And so I like to say in 2018, you took your talents to Uber and you held progressive leadership roles within the Uber company and organization. So before we talk about your journey through the EV and e-mobility space, tell us about your current career path or your current role.
Absolutely. So I am the general manager of the Uber mobility business in North America, and I'm responsible for our all of the rides that happen in the U.S. and Canada, and growing our rides business. And we will grow our rides business both from a top line and a profitability standpoint. I'm responsible for growing the number of active riders that we have on the platform, creating new opportunities and use cases for those riders. And I'm responsible for growing our driver base and expanding the number of people who have the opportunity to earn money using our platform. It's also in my responsibility to ensure that we are leading the path on electrification. I'm excited to be able to support earners who both rent and own electric vehicles, and we're able to provide extra earning opportunity for any of those drivers who choose to drive in an electric vehicle. So my day-to-day work involves working through my teams and with my teams to grow the size of this business.
Fantastic. That sounds really exciting. And so, before we go into the heart of our conversation, let's chat a bit more about your journey into the electric mobility space. We'd love to hear more about how you got to this current space. So, how did your career path evolve? Like, what was working in transportation and mobility like for you? Was that always part of your career path, part of your plan?
Great question. I have always been driven by impact in my
Mhm,
career.
mhm,
And so, what you'll find as a through line throughout my time is choosing companies and then choosing spaces within those companies that make big impact on people. I
mhm,
started my career in healthcare at 3M. When I then worked at Procter and Gamble, I worked on brands that made a difference in the world, like Tampax.
mhm.
I spent time working on e-commerce because I understood that the future was going to be convenience and delivery. And when I got to Uber, it was so impressive to me to understand our scale. Today, we have almost 7 million people globally who earn money on this platform every
Wow.
month. And that level of impact was always interesting. And
Mhm,
then at Uber, we continue to identify ways that we can make such an impact on the world. So, with the number of vehicle miles being in the hundreds of millions
mhm.
weekly, it is an absolute no brainer that we would be leading the transition in e mobility. And so for me, it started with impact and then identifying in this space that e mobility is a place where we can have big impact on the world.
Awesome. No, that's really amazing. And thank you so much for just sharing that perspective. For myself, per se, I didn't start my career knowing that I would have the opportunity to work in the e-mobility or electrification sector. It probably didn't even exist at that point in time. But, considering the intersection for me in terms of my public health background and clean transportation, and especially
Mhm,
for thinking about uh, intersecting with frontline and underrepresented communities, it's just a natural fit.
mhm,
And, just show our viewers, as I shared earlier, our organization, EV Noir, works on electric connected shared and autonomous vehicle technology. Our work really focuses on these two areas, which are e-mobility best practices and e-mobility diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, in working with cities, utilities, auto manufacturers, rideshare delivery network
mhm,
companies like Uber or transit authorities and
mhm,
charging infrastructure companies, we advise them and we advise them on the best practices in terms of how they can transition to clean transportation. And we've been also working with the highest levels of government, so whether it's federal, state, and local organizations and partners around the country to help really guide their decarbonization efforts. So, working with your team at Uber is a natural fit and synergy that we've been really grateful for the opportunity to partner and advise you on this transition. It's really important transition.
Indeed. The work of Evie Noir is just absolutely incredible. And every time we chat, it's always so fun to hear about the great things that you're doing in cities and in government at all levels to just advance this effort.
Thank you for that, Camille. I definitely appreciate that. So now let's talk for a minute about just being a diverse woman in the industry. We're clearly both diverse women and happy to be diverse women. And thinking about increasing diversity in this sector is critically important. So we
Mhm,
know from recent studies that women make up over three-fourths of household decisions around vehicle purchases. But
mhm,
then when you think about women in the automotive space in that sector, we only make up about a third of the employees in this sector.
mhm,
That also tracks well with a study that Evie Noir facilitated that found Black women in particular feel excluded in public facing initiatives while also desiring to see more women in leadership roles
mhm.
working in the field. So obviously there's a lot of work ahead of us in terms of, amplifying the opportunities, the career path, job opportunities, etc. So in the meantime, talk for a minute about your experiences being a diverse woman in the space. And it could be broadly just a woman in general first, and then going into details about just being a diverse woman working in this space.
Yeah, it's a good question. My background is in marketing and brand management. And one of the principles that I grew up sort of understanding is that deep insight and understanding of your audience is critical to being able to, sell a product or even like create behavior change. And with the EV transition, what we are seeking to do is change behavior, and so it requires deep understanding of the audience out there. And so, to the point that you made, women are responsible for 75% of household purchasing decisions, including vehicles. But I would argue, and I don't know the exact percentage, that women tend to be responsible for even more of the mobility decisions, the planning around how a household moves. And so that makes it incredibly critical to have a deep understanding of women as consumers and as people who go places and get things. And so, because of that, the representation of women at these companies is just critical. And I'm happy to be able to take that space, not just because I'm a person who makes quite several of the mobility decisions in my household, but because me having that insight is going to help Uber make decisions better. From the perspective of being a woman of color, I think there's the additional lens that communities of color tend to be systematically excluded. And one of the challenges that we're seeing now in e-mobility is the race to create charging infrastructure. And so it's really important to me that we have appropriate charging infrastructure across all communities, particularly those communities that tend to be historically underserved. And then I'm especially interested in ensuring that we have good charging infrastructure in places where the drivers on my platform live and work, so that they are able to have the resources they need to earn money on the platform. And so, I find it to be my responsibility to at least have these insights top of mind, in a way that maybe some of my colleagues just wouldn't have them. And I'm happy to play that role.
Amazing, Camille. That's so important to be, create a space where you are providing like that leadership and mentorship to other women, and recognizing like, yes, there's not a lot of us in this sector, but there's opportunities for more of us to join that space. But we have to, create that space and create those opportunities, both with allies and other women of color who are working in this space, to show young people and women and others who are underrepresented in this sector that there's opportunities and there's places for them to share their knowledge and their expertise and innovation as well. So I love that you are thinking about that, and that, I think that resonates with the information that you've shared so far in terms of your career path, and how there's these opportunities for other young people or other older people for who want to make a career change, for instance. So what you really said definitely resonates well with me. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have been able to get to some of the rooms and the spaces that I've been able to navigate if I didn't have that mentorship, both from women of color, but also from allies. And so, having worked in this space for quite some time, and seeing where there are opportunities for more diverse voices and more diverse experiences, that's actually the impetus for how we created the e-mobility fellowship that we started some time ago. And then for some of our viewers who may not be familiar with that program, it's a 9-month curriculum and an internship targeting college students, particularly diverse college students and students from underrepresented communities. And the idea is that we're really working to expose students to all facets of the electrification sector. And the program is targeting students from historically Black colleges and universities. Camiel, yourself, you went to the HBCU, so I know that resonates with you. Hispanic serving institutions, tribal and indigenous programs, also trade, technical, and community colleges, because that's a space that needs to be engaged in this conversation as well. And then also veteran and women serving institution is part of our focus areas. So the idea is that we really want to increase the number of women as well as diverse professionals who are entering the workforce. So this is, we're going to make a quick little shift and do a fun segment as part of the show. And so this is where we get to know a little bit more about you, Camiel. We like to call it the 5 fun facts. Okay. All right. And so to our audience, this is a little back and forth where we learn a little bit more about Camiel, and hear some kind of maybe best practices, things that she would advise us on. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off first with just talking about a few different things here. So there's 5 questions.
Okay.
And so the first one is, so when you step away from your work life, where's your favorite place to vacation? Is it a beach, a city, or say the mountains?
Oh, good question. The beach. Yes. And I add, so I say the beach, but then also the spa.
Oh.
Either of those. I actually, for my birthday in a couple of weeks, I'm headed to a weekend at the spa with some of my girlfriends. Very much
Oh,
looking
that sounds
forward to it.
incredible. I love the water. So I love like looking out at the water and just seeing, it's just so calming and peaceful. And then I love a good spa, because there's nothing like a good, massage detox to just really help you relax and become more centered. Okay, so we're going to go to our next question. So I know you travel frequently, because when we talk, you're usually in the airport, getting ready to go to the airport or coming back from the airport. And I know you just came back from Las Vegas. So you just came from the airport not too long ago. So as a frequent traveler, what's your best travel hack? Like what's, something that you would recommend that others utilize to as a way to navigate frequent travel?
Yes, this is a very tactical one,
Okay.
but and I am a frequent traveler. I'm about 50% of my time on the
Mhm.
road. I have home toiletries and travel toiletries. And it's obviously a little bit of extra spend, but it's been worth it because I don't have to go and try and organize myself and pull things out of my bathroom every time I'm going to leave. I just get to everything and I'm able to move quickly.
That is a great travel hack. I remember a colleague of mine, he used to be a consultant for one of the big three, and he said that that's what he did. He had like a cabinet in his bathroom where he'd keep his travel toiletries so he could just go in the bathroom, grab those out of there, and throw it in the suitcase. So it
Yes.
really made life a lot easier. So, all right, perfect. Well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, so another travel related question. So, when you're traveling, what's one thing that you won't leave home without?
Okay, also very practical, but a charger block for my phone. Um, I so frequently end up in places where I am taking work calls while
Mhm.
I'm on the move and I'm running down my battery on my phone, and I may not have time to go and look for a place to plug
Mhm.
in. And so
Mhm.
having those battery packs really makes a difference.
Camille, I wish I had one of those yesterday. I was leaving national. Just did a quick up and back trip, and when I got to the airport around 7 p.m. for my flight, my battery was literally at 4%, and I usually have a little charging block, and I can't find it. So I went on Amazon yesterday, like once I plugged my phone in to charge it and ordered another one that hopefully should be here shortly. But yes, that is a critical piece of hardware to have with you when you're traveling. All right. So next, two more questions. So this is in regards to just kind of leisure time. What are you reading right now?
Oh, good question. I just started this book
Mhm.
called You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty.
Oh
It's
wow.
a rom-com.
Okay.
The author is, hopefully I pronounced this appropriately, but it's Awakike
Mhm.
Emisi. And it's just a little like romantic comedy, which, work is hard, life is
Mhm.
challenging. And so when I get down with a book, I just want something that's going to be a fun read.
Love it. I love it. Okay, so fantastic. And then our last question in this little fun fact series is what form of mobility or transportation do you use the most? So is it rideshare, e-bike, personal vehicle, light rail?
It's rideshare and scooters.
Okay.
I live in the city in DC, and we do have a car, but I tend to use rideshare most of the time.
Mhm.
And then if I'm going less than a mile and the weather is okay, I hop on a scooter.
I love it. First and last mile, and obviously utilizing ride share. That's fantastic. I love
That's
that. Okay.
great.
All right. So thank you for playing that little game with us. And before we wrap up our conversation today, I want to go back to something that we talked about a little while ago when we were talking about how women can get more engaged working in the electrification sector. So let's hit on the importance of mentorship and mentors that you've had along the way. So what words of wisdom did they pass along that has really made a significant difference in your success?
Oh, that's a great question. So, one of the best pieces of advice that I have received is, and you may have heard this phrase before, but it's luck favors the prepared. There are many times when I could look at my success and say, wow, I just got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. And that's true. But I was in the right place at the right time with the right talent and the right experience and the right information because I was investing in making myself ready so that when the opportunity came, I was able to jump on it.
That's powerful. And I had not heard that phrase. So, thank you for sharing that. That is really powerful. I would also ask one follow up question to that is that, what advice would you offer a young person, a young lady, or other individuals, for instance, who are interested in working in the e-mobility sector and the clean transportation sector. It's such a, burgeoning, innovative industry. There's so much movement and excitement in the space currently. So, what guidance would you give someone who is interested in coming into the field or working in the field?
Three things. First of all, go for it. It's a great space. There is so much growth to be had here. We need your talent. So come on. The second I would tell you is you should know that there's both the passion to see a cleaner world with cleaner energy. And so you have to have the passion, but then pair that passion with a solid understanding of the systems and business models and regulatory models that are going to make that happen. And so you need both. And the third thing I would recommend is to consider the e-mobility fellowship program, because that's how you can get the knowledge that I just spoke about. And so please check out EV Noir and the programs that they offer.
Oh, thank you, Camille. That is not prompted, audience. That was not prompted at
No.
all. No, thank you so much. I really appreciate that response, Camille. And that's exactly the kind of insight that we're hoping to share on this series. And so, unfortunately, our time together has come to a close. I know you're a busy woman, and you're probably getting ready to go on another business trip, or so we definitely want to make sure that we respect your time. And thank you again for your valuable insight. And thank you for talking with me, but along with our viewers as well today about your experiences and your insights. So thank you, and we will continue to wish you so much success.
Thank you so, so much, Dr. Francis. It's always a pleasure.
Awesome. So again, she is Camiel Irving. She's the Vice President of Operations for Uber. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in, and to our team at EV Noir for supporting this series. And please stay tuned and check out our other sessions as well. And additionally, look to learn more about the role of women in the sector, along with other emerging issues that are happening in the e-mobility space, ranging from the role of utilities, auto manufacturers, accelerating EV adoption, and more. And of course, also join us for our National E-Mobility Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference that we hold every fall. So stay tuned to all of those exciting developments, and stay tuned to our next segment. So on behalf of EV Noir, I am Dr. Shelley Francis. We will see you next time to chat more with women in e-mobility. Take care.